HIV. What? HIV. Okay, so we have talked about the history of HIV, the way it was very cumbersome in terms of understanding it, coming even to the point of defining what HIV is. It was a very difficult thing, as we have seen to the point of our history. Now, as we are discussing the HIV now, we are discussing as, I'm teaching you as clinicians, as doctors who are going to take care of people whom we are going to meet. I can tell you a lot of people who are having this disease, a lot of people are having, and a lot of people will have this disease. So, you being aware of what will happen is very important for taking care and applying the holistic approach in their life. So, what is HIV? Actually, this is a short term of human immunodeficiency virus. We say human because it affects what? Human being. That's why I say it's a human, infecting human beings. And immunodeficiency. Why? Because here we see a person who has been infected by this bacteria, by this virus. At the end, he ends up decreasing or weakness in the body ability to fight off infection and what? Illness. The ability to fight off infection and illness, and we defined about the immunology, that the ability of the body to fight against different diseases, is it? Now, that ability goes down to this what? Infection. Virus, actually the one who is infecting human being is what? Virus. It is a pathogenic having the ability to replicate only inside of what? Living cell. So in summary, HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus, and it affects human being, causing decrease in immunity, and the major pathogen which is here is what? Virus. Are we together? Virus. So, acquired, why do we say, because at the end you have to say human immunodeficiency virus, AIDS, which is called again acquired. It is acquired because you come into possession of this disease not due to, it's not something we call congenital. You are not born with it, is it? You acquire it. So, to come into possession of this something new, this is something called acquired. So, immunodeficiency, decrease of weakness or weakness in the body, ability to fight different diseases, and syndrome mean that when we say syndrome, this is the collection of or group of signs and symptoms that occur together and characterize a particular abnormality. Then when we have those symptoms together, we say this is HIV what? AIDS. Therefore when we say syndrome together, syndrome, this is a group of signs and symptoms that occur together and characterize a particular abnormality. We are having number of syndromes, and different syndromes represent different diseases. Are we together? So those are key aspects of HIV. So HIV is also a retrovirus that causes acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, and by infecting, how it happened, this is by infecting the CD4 cell of the immune system. The virus attacks the cell of the immune system, causing immunosuppression. So the major fight here is immunosuppression. The virus will always fight with your immunity to decrease your ability to fight against different pathogens. And at the end, you get killed by those pathogens. AIDS never kill. HIV never kill by itself. It kills by lowering your immunity, then you get infected by different other diseases. Are we together? Are we together? No one ever died with HIV/AIDS. People die due to what? To complications which are caused by what? HIV virus. Because that's why when a patient comes in with HIV, we die up with pneumonia, we die off with meningitis, we die off of some cancers, we die off of some breast cancer maybe, or skin cancer. Something else will kill that particular patient, of which is not AIDS per se, but AIDS has opened the door for anything to enter and come in and kill. Are you together? Therefore, when a person is dying from HIV, it's not real HIV killing the patient. You will always have a diagnosis which is killing that particular patient. Are you together? So, we have talked a lot about the HIV history, but let me brief you on some key important aspects. The history of HIV from the basic science perspective, the contribution of basic science here. In 1940s, evidence of the first infection of human virus, HIV, identification and analysis of virus in a frozen blood sample, it was seen in 1940s. That's why when I was reading the history from the Congo, I said before 80s. Are we together? It means that all the way back. Then in 1981, first clinical report of AIDS, which identified the CD4 T cell loss. Therefore, the AIDS, the major thing that happened with the AIDS is the loss of CD4 T cells. And in 1983, discovery of HIV. HIV was grown in the lab from the patient blood. Then in 1985, AIDS-infested antiviral drugs was discovered. There are some places they report as 1987. So in 1996, effective combination therapy, of which is the number of drugs which have been combined. Development of new classes of drugs were due to greater understanding of virus structure and identification. Therefore, when you see different drugs targeting different part of the virus or different stage of virus, mean that this came to the point of this effective combination because people were now aware of how virus take place within the cell of living organism. In 2009, the first reported cure of HIV infection was identified, but not a real cure. What happened here is identification of people who were not susceptible to infection. There are people in the community who are not susceptible to this infection. You can sex with them while you're having HIV. You can do anything with them, but they cannot acquire this HIV. Why? Because they don't have HIV receptor. They don't have HIV what? They don't have HIV receptor. Whatever they do, they just remain expired. So for that reason, there are people who are found in this category, and there's one person who ever I think there is bone marrow transplant happened. They took bone marrow from this patient. They put someone who was HIV positive. Then what happened is that person get cured because those bone marrow were no longer producing those infected cells. The cells which are produced by this man were having no HIV receptors. For that particular reason, means that person got healed. So there are people in the community who are having nothing like this. That's why there are people in the community who say, this man is very bad. He is going with anyone, anywhere, but you have never acquired this AIDS. With that possibility. Have you ever seen that or heard of this?
Yes.
Yes, those people having HIV negative receptor. So, my talk to you as clinician is on CD4. CD4 is one of very important components for you to understand this disease. Because at the end, CD4 played a very important role in immunity of the human being. So CD4 T cells play a central role in immunity protection. They do so through their capacity to help B cell make antibodies. As you remember, when I was passing through immunology, I was saying that T cell will help B cell to undergo the process of changing to plasma cell, of which plasma cell will produce what? Antibodies. And those antibodies, when they are produced in the body, they help in fighting against what? Infection. Therefore, if you don't have this, automatically your body won't be able to fight against disease. And for that reason, if you don't have CD4, means that your body won't be able to make antibodies. And if you won't be able to make antibodies, means your adaptive immunity won't function properly, because you have the adaptive immunity and what? Innate immunity. Therefore, the adaptive immunity, which depends mostly to these antibodies, won't be functioning well. And for that reason, you become immunocompromised. This again, CD4 help to induce macrophage to develop enhanced microbicidal activity, of which means that without CD4, the macrophage won't fight. Macrophages are there to engulf those antigens which are coming in, infections which are coming in. Therefore, if you are having this macrophage, they will always be able to fight against, they can develop even toxin, microcidal. Cido means something to kill. Are we together? Therefore, if you don't have this CD4 T cell, this macrophage won't function properly. And for that reason, the infection will keep going on in your body. Again, another function for this very man is the ability to recruit neutrophil, eosinophil, and basophil. As you remember, neutrophil are very important for fighting against what? Bacteria. And eosinophil are very important to fight against what? Parasites. Then we know for sure basophil are also a very important component in the issue of inflammation and what, which together they facilitate the issue of disease fighting or infection fighting. And through their production of cytokine and the chemokine to arrest the full panoply of immune response. For this, in summary, that this is very major thing to meditate, or to mediate the relationship, to make the relationship of adaptive and natural immunity work. Without having the CD4, means that there is high possibility for you to undergo what immunocompromised state. Here, this is the simple diagram, but it is having everything that you really need to know for you to fight and understand this particular disease. Number one is we have the naive CD4 T cell. A naive CD4 is like a virgin thing. Virgin, do you understand the virgin? Yes. Same like naive. Naive means that it have never been touched. It is fresh. So we have naive CD4 T cell, of which what has happened when it receives different activation molecules. What it happened, it can change to T helper cell 1, T helper cell 2. It can change to I-TREG and also T helper 17. And every type of that T helper cell is having an important function in fighting against disease. Like when you see when the cell receives, like it, you see when the cell receives this tumor growth factor or interleukin 6, these interleukin, they are called cytokines. They are what? Cytokines. These are molecules, are messenger molecules. They help to communicate. Therefore, if interleukin 6, 21 and 23, together with the tumor growth factor, goes to naive CD4 T cell, it changes to what? To T helper 17. And this one is very important in fighting against what? Extracellular bacteria, fungal, and what? Autoimmune. Therefore, if your naive T cell won't change to T helper 17, automatically you won't be able to fight against these diseases. And what happens is, if you don't have CD4 T, means that automatically you are not able to fight against this particular disease. Again, we see interferon gamma is also very important together with interleukin 12. You see, it is very important in formation from naive CD4 T cell to T helper cell. And the T helper cell is very important in fighting against what? Intracellular pathogen. Together with what? Autoimmune. How it fights? It produces those what? Interleukins. We see again, this one is very important. Naive T cell has to be converted with the use of interleukin 4 and interleukin 2 to change into what? T helper cell, of which is very important in fighting against what? Extracellular parasite, together with the allergy and what? Asthma. So without having these guys, mean that this disease, you will always get sick of this disease. The fungal disease, the bacterial disease, the parasitic infections, and even allergy infections, you get sick of them. But again, we see, when you see this tumor growth factor, you see again, if it reacts with naive T cell, it changes to what? I-TREG, which is very important in immune tolerance. When we say immune tolerance, this is a bit of your body immune to stay together without fighting each other, without causing harm in your body. Are we together? That causes immune tolerance. But without having this I-TREG, means that your body will always fight against itself. This means that autoimmune disease will develop. You'll have several number of diseases of which you cannot control them. And again, lymphocyte what? Homeostasis. Lymphocyte homeostasis means the balance of lymphocyte. If lymphocyte increase in your body, you develop even lymphoma, which is cancer, is it? So again, regulation of immune response. Without having these things, your immune response won't be controlled well. I think you understand now the function of this naive CD4 T cell. It is very important. And the key message is, the major target for HIV virus is to CD4 cell. You understand now what I'm trying to talk? Yes. The major target for your HIV is what? For any HIV is what? Is CD4 cell. And if the CD4 is distracted, means automatically you have opened the door for every organism that I've tried to explain here. Are you together? And if you have tried to open the door for every organism which I've tried to explain here, automatically the AIDS now won't kill you. You'll be killed by other factors apart from the HIV itself. You got the concept? Yes. Doctor, can you explain to your patient what happened in his or her body? Yes. You must be able to do that. Are we together? Now, if you are aware of what will happen, you have to remind yourself of this diagram. Carry this diagram. As you're speaking to someone with HIV, carry this diagram. It's a very helpful diagram for you to explain. So, naive CD4 T cell, this is summary. Proliferation of T cell happen, immature effector T cell happen. We have the T helper 1 cell, which is important for activation of macrophage activation, B cell activation. We say the B cell come up with production of antibodies, is it? And also production of opsonizing antibodies such as the IgG1. And opsonization, I say it is the ability of these T cell or B cell antibodies to make sure that the organism is palatable against what? Against the immune of the body. Then we have T helper cell 2, which they are general activation of B cell to make the antibodies. Other one I have explained already. So what are the general characteristics of HIV? HIV is the member of family known as retroviruses. Retro because it has transferase enzymes which reverse transcripts enzyme which convert it from the RNA to what? To DNA. So retrovirus consists of two pieces of single-stranded RNA as their genetic material. Retroviruses are unusual because they are capable of making copy of DNA from RNA. Hence, their name are retro, going back kind. So backward transcription is called. And this is possible because they have reverse transcription enzymes. I've said about it. HIV is particle, the structure now. The structure of HIV, it is a particle composed of lipid bilayer known as envelope. We explained it when we were talking about the structure of different viruses. And in the lipid bilayer, there are two glycoproteins called the GP120 and GP41. Then inside the lipid bilayer, there are lipid bilayer, there are two glycoproteins. In the lipid bilayer, there are two glycoproteins, very important component. The one called the GP120 and GP41. And then inside the lipid bilayer, this is outward, inside lipid bilayer there is a core consisting protein called P50, P24 and P17. Inside the inner core there are two pieces of single-stranded RNA, an important enzyme, reverse transcriptase, integrase, and protease. These are important enzymes for them to replicate. But you have to remember that these core proteins, the one I say like P24, GP120, they are very important during diagnosis of this disease with the use of technique in laboratory because we are going to identify these particles. If they are in your body, automatically we see that you are infected with this disease. Are we together? Apart from the antibody which will be produced in response to the infection. So this is the structure that we see. The GP120, you see it is just there. The GP41, then the viral envelope. Then we have inside envelope, you see there is P17 and P24. So I've seen it. Then we have the protease and reverse transcription enzymes, the RNA, you see it, and human immunodeficiency virus structure. Seems like that way. Are we together? That's the real structure. You have to remember those ones. The core, the GP120, the GP41, the P17, the P24. The P24 is very famous and GP120 is very famous. Are we together? Replication cycle of HIV. The replication cycle of HIV involves steps in which the virus reproduces to make several copies of itself. We once discussed about replication of viruses, and then today we are going to speak it again. The major step happening during replication can be outlined in 7 steps. Namely, as the first thing we say is attachment through the interaction between the viral glycoprotein. We have seen the glycoprotein we have, and the CD4 receptor and core receptor. Without having the CD4 receptor means automatically this virus won't find a place to stay. Right together. So this is the key again. Then the second thing is the fusion. When fusion occurs, what happens again is uncoating and release of RNA in the cytoplasm of the cell. Then the reverse transcription to produce the proviral DNA reverse transcription happen. Then the proviral DNA migrates to the nucleus of the cell. And what happens in the nucleus of the cell? It gets integrated. Integration of proviral DNA to the host DNA happens. Integration means they stay together, they function together. Therefore, whenever your body function is trying to function, it is again functioning with what? Virus. whatever is produced by your body just gets produced by the what again? By the virus. Right together. So it increases in the number. Then the synthesis of viral proteases happen, then assembly and release of complete viral happen, release of new virus particle happen, and it infects other cells. It keeps infecting. And because the receptor of this virus is in CD4, automatically the most cell which are affected is what? Are CD4 cell. And we know the function of CD4 cell. And you remember when I was talking about the immunology, I said in the body, whatever cell is affected, body used to show it that I'm affected. If I'm affected, I have to get what? Killed. Then the massive number of cells which are CD4 cell get what? Killed. And then we know for sure they are protective cell. What happened later on, your immune goes down. So the structure, I cannot go through the structure we have already talked about, but this is the fusion of HIV happens. Then the HIV RNA reverse transcription it happens. Then the next step is you see the viral DNA formed by reverse transcription. Then number 4 is I don't find here. Then the number 5 is the new viral RNAs used into genomic RNA to make viral protein. Number 6, new variants are released. Virus mature to proteins, releasing individual HIV proteins which infect other cells. So that was the key concept of the disease. You have seen it, the way it works, how it works with our body, how it functions within our body. And we know for sure how person get deteriorated from one point to another point. Wait together. Now there's something called the window period. You have to understand this. It's a very key concept. And this is the key again for young people who are energetic. Because window period, this is the time from initial infection with HIV until antibodies are detected by the single test. This is the time whereby you are free of antibody. You are infected, but you are free of antibody. You are infected, but you are free of what? Antibody. And for that reason, you might say, okay, I got my girlfriend today, so I have the HIV test, maybe he had sex yesterday. So automatically your body have not produced what? Antibodies. But you have the infection already. So that is called the window period. When you test for that particular lady, you will find automatically she is what? HIV negative. But the truth is, she is already what? Infected. What happened because of window period, she don't have antibodies. You will say she was what? Negative. You undergo sex. Later on, after some time, you will find yourself affected, and you say, "Trust me, I say I did diagnosis, and she was free of what? AIDS." But my dear, are you sure of window period? So there is something called the window period, which is very dangerous for most of us. We are not aware. Even with our technique, we can still not find out what? The disease. Are we together? So usually 3 to 8 weeks before antibodies are produced. 3 to what? 8 weeks. Means that if you go with someone within 2 weeks, you still find nothing. Even with the use of what? Antibody test. If you go with someone within 1 week, you find still what? Nothing. Are we together? Those are key important things for you to discuss with your patient. The patient who will come to you, they are confused. They say, okay, I had just one sex with one lady, or I had one sex with one man whom I tested him. He was negative. But how did I get this HIV? For you as clinician, you should have a mindset of what is what? Window period. Are you together? Key important thing. These are tools for you to stay in state, my dear. If you don't have them, you are mediocre. So usually 3 to 8 weeks are very important for you to consider while talking to a patient. Therefore, he may come confused, but you talk to him, okay, calm down. These are the options. Maybe you got the HIV from what? From other things, maybe from transfusion, from any very, very sharp object, whatever. But again, there's possibility maybe when you sex with that particular person, he was in what? Window period. When you try to test him or her, he could test what? Negative. But the truth, maybe he is what? Positive. Now, you talk to that particular, you calm him down, to calm down, and later on, we discuss about the option of doing other things which will help him. Right together. So, may test false negative for HIV antibody during this first period, can still pass the virus to other people during this what? Very key. And there is another key aspect here. You are now a doctor. Now, a mama with a baby in the womb, you are expecting her to be maybe she's having HIV already. Then you want to tell out if the mother is having what? If the mother is having HIV, yes, you know the mother is having HIV. Now you want to rule out if the baby born is what? Free of HIV. You have to play a role again here. So you have to remember, first of all, there is immunology here. There's something called IgG. The HIV IgG, these are antibodies. They will always go through what? Umbilical cord to the baby. Are we together? If a mother is having HIV, means automatically those antibodies against HIV, they go also to what? To child. If they go to child, it does not mean that the child is infected with HIV, but he or she is having what? Antibodies. Therefore, if you take rapid test, the HIV rapid test which uses antibody, you will say that particular child is having what? AIDS. But the truth it is not. It has been passed from mother to child. So there is another way here to diagnose young people, young infants, those have been born. To diagnose the disease which is HIV, you have to use a test which will test antigen, the virus itself within the body. You got the concept here? Eh? Do you understand what I'm trying to talk? Should I repeat?
Yes.
We have said that whenever there is infection, there is production of what? Antibodies. Now, a mama have been infected by HIV. Therefore, she is having what? HIV/AIDS, of which her immunity will respond by producing what? Antibodies. Then this mother is again is what? Pregnant. Then at the point of giving birth, the baby is born. Then you as clinician, you have to know if the baby is HIV positive or not HIV what? Positive. Why? Because if she is HIV or he is HIV positive, you need to initiate treatment for that particular child. Therefore, if you want to prove that that particular child is having HIV, in a normal way, you have to measure what? Antibodies in the blood of that child. You will take the blood and you will measure what? Antibodies. That what I'm trying to tell you is, you will find antibodies to that particular child. The HIV antibodies. But that does not mean that that child is what? Infected. Are we together? Because they can pass, antibody can pass through what? Umbilical cord down to what? To child. But viral or virus cannot pass. You understand the concept here? Therefore, you may find the antibodies, and finding antibody does not mean that that particular person is infected, because they have gone in a passive way. So remember the passive immunity and the active immunity? The passive immunity are the one already prepared by the mother goes back to the to child. For you now to test if that child is infected with HIV, you have to use a test which will test the virus itself, which is called the antigen test. And together now we are doing something called the what? A viral load. A what? A viral load, not really viral load, but it's a detection of virus with the use of PCR. Detection of virus with the use of what? Detection of virus with the use of what? PCR. And when you use that particular PCR, it will detect the virus itself. If there is no virus within the blood of child, that child is not what? Infected by what? Virus. And for that reason, you explain to mother that your baby has been born and he or she is having no what? Virus. And but for that reason, you have maybe to breastfeed him for just 6 months. And while you're breastfeeding him or her, make sure that you have the use of drug. And again, it's your choice. Sometimes there are mothers who say, no, I cannot breastfeed my kid. Let him grow, let her grow the way he wants to grow. So you have to take an alternative. But if you find the child is infected now, you have to initiate what? Treatment. Are we together? So the key aspect, what I'm trying to communicate here is, you have to remember there's something of antibody and antigen. So for kid, which is important for kid? Is it antibody or antigen?
Antigen.
Is it antibody or antigen?
Antigen.
Antigen is important, and that is what you should measure always. What? What? Always. That's what you should measure always the baby. This goes up to 18 months. It goes up to 18 months sometimes. So you have to remember there is a timeline that test that is supposed to be done. So disease progression says that the severity of illness is determined by amount of virus in the body, increasing viral loading and number of degree of immunity suppression. Therefore, the way number of virus increase in the body, the number of CD4 goes down. Are we together? The number of CD4, that's therefore the relationship is what? Inversely proportional, is it? Eh? The relationship is inversely proportional. When number of virus comes up, the number of CD4 goes what? Down. Because men get affected and what happens? They get killed by what? Immunity. And for that reason, your immunity also goes what? Down. And for that reason means you get infected by any disease. Even those diseases which you thought maybe you cannot get infected, you can get them. Fungal diseases, your normal flora will affect you. Everything. So as the CD4 count declines, the immune function what? Decreases. And this is the structure that is just the same here. You see, this is called asymptomatic what? Stage. The symptomatic stage goes up to what? 60 weeks almost. Are we together? Of which here, this as I said, also it is a window what? Period. To this point, what you are going to see is there is always raising up. You see, this is the red color. The red color means that when the virus are increasing in number, the CD4 are trying to what? They are trying to what? To decrease. So CD4 when it's going up, when the virus is going up, the CD4 is coming down. So when it is coming down, it comes to a point now, the virus have not yet adapted to your body. And therefore for that they go to the peak and your body try to fight against it, and at least the virus again comes down due to the strong immune that you are having. Virus goes down. And when they goes down, what happened to the CD4? They raise up at least. Are you together? Then they come to the point now, virus comes, they have adapted the situation, they start leaving, then they start rising up again. Your CD4 start coming down again. They come down. The virus goes down, up. The CD4 comes down to a point whereby you find now the CD4 is very down, the virus is very high. What's happening? Death. Understand now? Okay. So, disease associated by HIV/AIDS. Disease associated by HIV does not cause one disease condition, but associated with a group of diseases and conditions. Are we together? So the main effect of HIV in human is that it can weaken the immune system, hence rendering it incapable of fighting against what? Diseases. So, example of diseases which are associated with HIV can be grouped as follows. We have viral infection, for example, herpes virus infections and reactivation of diseases. Of which your herpes virus, you see, it can cause couple sarcoma, it can cause the shingle, is it? It can cause what? What? It can cause what? The chicken pox, okay, but they are even the vesicle, small vesicle, which can cause by this virus. They get activated. Again, we have bacterial infection, for example, mycobacterium species. I say everyone is having what? This bacteria. But when the immunes go down, that's where you see the TB coming up. Is it? And this is one at a time. You can get infected by Salmonella easily, the Shigella, the Staphylococcus, and the Streptococcus. Fungal infection, for example, Candida. Candida species, which are some of them are normal flora, they can now infect you. The Cryptococcus species, the Pneumocystis carinii species, the Histoplasma species, all of them, they can infect a person with HIV. Parasitic infection, example, toxoplasmosis, strongyloids, cryptosporidiosis, which are very characteristic of this disease, may happen as well. Malignant condition, example, Kaposi sarcoma, lymphoma, carcinoma of the cervix. HIV can also directly affect the organ of the body, like the brain, the heart, the kidney, the skin. They can get affected by this particular disease. And therefore, you have to take care of it. I'm just repeating here, before we go for diagnosis and what, you have to remember there is antigen and antibody. Antigen are substance which is recognized as foreign by what? Immune system. So can we read together? Antigen, the substance
which is recognized as foreign by the immune system.
So the antigen can be part of organism or what? Virus. The envelope called P24, I said it is famous, is it? And the trigger of antibody production. Therefore, if they are there, the antigen, they trigger the antibody production. What are the antibody now? Can you read together? Or how you read it? What is antibody? are made by the body immune system. The major aim for them to be made is what? To help in recognizing and also for what? For attacking what? Foreign substances. So, what are we doing really in testing HIV? What do? We have the viral load to understand the number of virus. We have the P24 antigen, of which again will tell us this is HIV. We have also, so when we are testing for HIV, we can either test it for viral infection itself, where we use the antigen part of it, or we can test it for what? Immune response, the way body responded to that particular what? Infection. Of which, for the immune response, you have to test it for what? Antibody, which is IgG or IgM. We can test it for cellular response like the CD4. If the CD4 are going down, mean that you have been infected by this particular disease. Therefore, these are the major things that you must remember as clinician while asking for the test. You will either do the antibody-antigen testing. The antibody testing mostly is very used in Tanzania and even in big countries. But there is another part which is called viral load and P24. So, evolution of antibodies. You see, at first, HIV infection. You see the HIV infection as they're rising up, you get it in the body. What is rising up in the number? HIV what? Antigens. Therefore, for the first weeks, how do people diagnose the disease for the first weeks? They use antigen testing. They use antigen what? So if you want to see if the person is infected by disease, even the window period, what you have to use is what? The antigen what? Test. Are we together? The antigen test have to be used because virus will be rising up. While the antibody, for some weeks now you see antibody release. The first antibody to be released is what? The IgM. The what? The IgM. Then you see the HIV environment is adapting, the core antigen will be available and what for years now. But the major thing that I want you to understand really is for the first weeks of HIV, especially the first week, few days to first week of the HIV, the only thing you can use for diagnosis is the use of what? Antigen. Antigen. Among antigen that you can use is what? P24. Are we together? But after it has stayed in the body for some weeks, 3 to 8 weeks, now you can undergo for what? You can go for what? Antibody tests. So about the diagnosis of HIV, the specimen which can be used, it can be the whole blood, it can be the serum, it can be plasma, it can be dried blood spot, of which this dried blood spot is used for kids. Like the whole blood, it is just used for any person. The serum part can be used also in lab, for any person can use it. The plasma can use it. For dried blood spot means that there are those babies who are just living far away. Therefore, what they do is they prick the baby, they take that blood, they put it in a certain paper, they dry that blood, and they transport it to the Hiv center like KCMC, Mbeya, maybe Ugando, or Benjamin Mkapa, or Muhimbili, where that dried blood spot in the paper, they will be soaked again in the solvent, of which in the solvent they can dissolve and release those particles. When those particles are released, now they have to get tested with the use of PCR. And the PCR will multiply the number of virus and detect them, then tell if there is any kind of organism found there. If there is nothing multiplication will take, and therefore they will say nothing detected. Are we together? Are we together? If there is any, they will get multiplied in number, increase in number, then they get detected. If there is nothing, that's why we say these viruses are what? Particle. Because they are carried even what? Dried blood what? Spot. You understand? So again, there is other body fluid, but they are not mostly used in testing. Most of other body fluid they are having the disease, but they sometimes having low concentration as required. So technique which I used, we can use the serological testing, rapid and ELISA test. When you say serological test, here is antigen antibody test. Antigen antibody what? Test. What happened here is you will have antibody coated in the paper. Those antibody coated in the paper, when you put when those antigen coated in the paper, when you put antibodies against those antigens in the paper, they react and they show either it's positive. If they don't react, it means that it's what? Negative. The same as ELISA, it is having those principles, but again you add some colors so that you can detect the disease. Again, you can detection by antibody produced against the virus. You can do that. Detection by the viral component, example P24. Also, you can do a detection by viral genetic material, example what? RNA, of which here you measure the viral most of the time. Are we together? Now, part of management, of which what are the management plans? First of all, management of HIV includes treatment of the associated infection and condition. And specific treatment to control HIV can be not to be cured, but just what? Controlled. We don't treat HIV. What we do is we control the number of what? Number of viral multiplication. They decrease in multiplying. We assist the rising up of CD4 so that they can fight other diseases. Are we together? So what we are doing really with the use of different drugs is to help the rising up of CD4 by decreased number of virus, of which we use different mechanisms, like from attachment of virus, from the way they multiply, from different enzymes that they are using. We maneuver with those chemicals so that we can prevent their growth and multiplication. And at the end, we allow CD4 to come. When the CD4 increases in number, automatically raising up the immunity. And if you have risen up the immunity, means that in those associated diseases, we say, the cryptococcal, the viral diseases, bacterial diseases, the cancers, won't be there because your body will be able to fight against what? Disease. So specific treatment for HIV is saying nothing. All the drugs used for HIV target the enzyme used in viral replication. Most. There are drugs which they target even the attachment part, but they are very expensive. They are very effective, but very what? Expensive. Most of drugs that we are using, they are targeting viral what? Replication cycle. Treatment involves simultaneous use of more than one drug of different classes. Why? Because we are using number of drugs together so that we can prevent something called what? Drug resistance. Because as we say, viral don't have take-up. They just mutate very easily. Therefore, when you are treating them, you have to target them with a massive number of what? Armies. So that you can kill. You make sure that you have killed it or you have prevented it away. When you allow to do, you treat it with one drug will get what? Will mutate from one drug, then next drug, then next drug. Later we don't have even a single drug. But if you put many drugs together, automatically you are trying to prevent issue of what? Mutation. Are we together? And drug what? Resistance. Are we together? Yes. So our drug that we are using now, we have a drug which targets the nuclear, which are called target nucleoside, which are called nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. The NRTIs. The example of this drug, these are called the lamivudine. In summary, in short, it's called the 3-TC. We have zidovudine, we have amitriptyline, we have tenofovir, we have didanosine, we have also abacavir, of which all these drugs they are used in targeting the nucleoside. We have non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase. Example, here we have efavirenz and nevirapine, which are mostly also used. You have to remember those classes. There are those which are targeting nucleoside and those which are targeting what? The non-nucleoside, which are called the efavirenz and what? Nevirapine. You can understand them in a simple way because there are three major classes, and we have the protease inhibitors. For example, here is lopinavir and the ritonavir, and also atanazavir and other drugs. Together they are combined. Most of treatment which happen, they combine these three drugs in different ways. Together. They combine these three drugs in different ways. So we have nucleoside, non-nucleoside, and what? Protease inhibitor. So, key point. This HIV is a retrovirus called the acquired immune deficiency syndrome. It's by infected CD4 cell of the immune system. HIV attacks cells of the immune system, particularly CD4. T helper cell have receptor, CD4 cell receptor, through which HIV attaches before it is uncoated. So, another HIV paved the way to other pathogens, pathogenic and opportunistic infection. So it opens the way for other opportunistic infection. Diagnosis involved as serological rapid test and also ELISA. We can also go above and also detect the virus with the use of what? PCR. What? PCR. Also, treatment involves simultaneous use of more than one drug of different classes. As I said, why? We prevent what? Resistance and also what? Okay, that's marking the end of this very good